So welcome again, everyone. Welcome to our Season of Creation webinar, and thank you for joining us. So this webinar, we have our presenter, Father Hugh Logan. He's from Grenada, and he would be doing a lovely and interactive session for us tonight. So as Franciscans, we begin with prayer. So I would share my screen for the Season of Creation. It's an adaptation of the Season of Creation prayer. So as we get into the mind frame of prayer, we thank God for today and the many blessings that He has bestowed upon us. And we ask the Holy Spirit to be upon us, especially with our presenter tonight, all our participants, and for technology as well. So Creator of all, we remember that you call human beings to keep your garden in ways.
Okay, I'll continue it. Creator of all, remember that you call all human beings to keep your garden in ways that honor the dignity of each creature and conserve their place in the abundance of life on earth. But we know that our will to power pushes the planet beyond her limits. Our consumption is out of harmony and rhythm with the earth's capacity to heal itself in the season of creation. We pray that the breath of your creative word would move our hearts, enlighten us with the grace.
So I'm very sorry, my internet's actually lost connectivity. So I believe I was saying the prayer, Father Hugh.
Yes, but Mark continued praying, but he didn't finish.
Thank you very much, Mark, your lifesaver. So that is the beauty of having wonderful participants here. And, I would continue after the prayer. I was just going to do a brief introduction. And, my name is Annalisa Ramsahai. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Annalisa Ramsahai. I'm the Regional Program Coordinator for the Franciscan Institute. The Franciscan Institute is the host for tonight's webinar. And the Institute is a ministry of the Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother. And I'm really happy to see that we have representatives from the three islands the Institute serves: St. Lucia, Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago. So we welcome each of you for joining us. And we are here to learn about the Season of Creation theme, a home for all, renewing the Oikos of God. And that has been a very confusing theme for many persons. They have shared their feedback with me. And they said, Anna, that word oikos is just a Greek word. And it is a Greek word. It is a Greek word meaning household. So how do we renew the household of God? So for those who may or may not know, the Season of Creation month began on September the 1st and it ends on October the 4th, which is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. And persons participate through prayer, reflection, action in renewing their relationship with God, our Creator, and all of creations. So without further ado, I introduce you to our presenter tonight, Father Hugh Logan. Father Hugh is Grenadian and parish priest of Christ the King, Grand Roy, St. John. So I now hand you over to Father Hugh. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Annalisa, and good night to everyone. Now I'll try to share my screen. It's up now, so everyone can see.
Yes, Father.
Okay, good. Good. So I will begin right away, and I would like to begin with a story, okay? And the story is entitled "The Girl Who Was in Love with a Fish." There was a girl who lived in this village and was in love with a fish. The fish lived in a pond from which the villagers got their water. Every evening after school, the children would all go to the pond to fetch water. Whenever the girl went to fetch water, she got clean water, while the other children, including her brothers, got dirty water. No one knew about this except her brothers. They found it strange, so they decided to hide to find out what she does to get clean water. When the girl got to the pond, she began to sing. I tilanto, tile I tilanto, ta la 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 la, I tilanto. The fish came to the surface of the water and spouted out clean water into a bucket. They went home and told their father what they saw and heard. She, being the girl in the house, her chore was to go to the market on Saturdays. Apart from shopping for the entire family, she would buy goods for the fish. And away from the market, she would feed the fish with the goodies such as sugar cake and tamarind balls and other goodies. One market day, while she was out shopping, the father and her brothers went to the pond and began to sing. I tilanto, tililili I tilanto, ta la 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 la, I tilanto. The fish surfaced and spouted clean water, but as it was about to swim away, the father took an axe and killed the fish. Yes, he killed the fish. They took the fish home and prepared it for lunch. The time was now 12 o'clock, the hour the girl's family had the lunch. The girl was late for lunch, so she threw the goodies in the pond for the fish without waiting to see him and hurried to her home. When the girl got home, the family was all seated at table. The table was covered with a white, dazzling, flowing tablecloth and a lighted candle in its middle. Surrounding the candle was the food, provisions, dumplings, macaroni pie, breadfruit salad, and of course, the sweet-smelling fresh fish soaked in gravy. The aroma was pleasing to the nose. The girl sat at table with her family, enjoying her meal. The fish is delicious, she said. When she was finished eating, the brothers told her that the fish she had eaten was caught in the pond where they fetch water. The girl was terrified and hurried to the pond. When she got there, she began to sing. I tilanto, tililili I tilanto, ta la 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 la, I tilanto. And no fish came to the surface of the water. And her heart was broken, but she decided to sing a second time. I tilanto, tililili I tilanto, ta la 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 la, I tilanto. And no fish came to the surface of the water. She began to cry, and her tears slowly filled the pond. She decided to try one last time. I tilanto, tililili I tilanto, Ta la 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 la, I delight. And her heart was broken. And then she threw herself into the pond and was transformed into a beautiful mummy. My dear brothers and sisters, the intention of the father and brothers to kill the fish is unfathomable. Why would the father and brothers want to kill the fish from which the family benefits with clean water? There is no good reason why one would act in such a manner. The story of the girl who was in love with a fish teaches an important moral lesson. There exists a mutual relationship between humans and non-humans, and that both are necessary for each other's well-being. The friendship between the girl and the fish is also an example of how connected humans are with nature. It was the fish living in the pond that provided clean water in a pond filled with dirty water. The story challenges us to see the necessity in caring for the environment. By killing the fish, there was no more clean water, an indication that there is a harmony in the universe which we must respect. The transformation of the girl into a mummy points to the more, which lies beyond what the physical eyes can see. My dear brothers and sisters, there is a communion between human beings and all of God's creation that exists that many people do not see. But this story, when it ends with the girl being transformed into a mummy, speaks that there is something more beyond even death. There is even more beyond what we can see with our naked eyes, a deep, deep connectedness that even death cannot prevent. There is the situation in the world where we human beings are missing the mark. And to miss the mark is sin. Basically, to sin is to miss the mark. And we as humanity is missing the mark. I will explain more because now I'm going to expound on basically why we are missing the mark. Because God has created us for a specific purpose. God has a vision. God has, there is a way that we should live our lives. And somehow the human being is not able to rise to the vision of God. And therefore we are missing the mark. Creation has a goal. And the goal is to renew our world as an interconnected and interdependent global beloved community. That's the goal. To make humanity see that we are interrelated, we are interdependent, we are interconnected with all of creation. And the Season of Creation 2021 celebration guide, goes back to the book of Genesis. And it says that in Genesis, God set a dome over the earth. And the dome, the word dome is where we get words such as domicile and domestic. In other words, God puts us all people, all life. We are all in the house, the Oikos of God. And if you notice in many great cathedrals and basilicas, such like St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, there is a dome. The church at the top is a dome. And the dome symbolizes that this is the house of God. And in the house of God, as Pope Francis is trying again to get us to understand, everyone belongs in the house of God. The church is all inclusive, saints and sinners. Everyone is part of the church of God within this dome, the house of God. No, the house of God, the universe, the earth, which is our home, is made with the wisdom of God. Because God, when God created us and when God created the animals and the plants and the universe, God poured out his very self, or we can use her very self. And God poured out her very self. And when God poured out her very self, it's God himself. It's like a pregnant woman giving birth. A pregnant woman gives birth to a very flesh, to a very DNA. And when God poured out himself in creation, he poured out him very self, or her very self. So in the creative work of God is God himself. Is God. Because out of God comes God, nothing else. And so all that God has created is God himself, that which came from his very deep being, from his very womb, from her very womb. And therefore, the Oikos of God is made with wisdom, because God is wisdom. And wisdom is the divine trait. Wisdom is God. That's why the church teaches that Jesus Christ is the wisdom of God who came flesh. So the wisdom of God is the divine trait. So, as human beings, we have to be open to the presence of the divine in all of creation. Because that's where we find God. Of course, we have to realize that nothing can contain God. Even the universe which God has created cannot contain God, because God is even bigger than what he has created. God is without beginning or end. And therefore, it means that the human being has to be open to the presence of the divine in all of creation. If the human being wants to experience flourishing. So, to be in union with the whole of creation is for man's benefit. Ouch. What? Because what is wisdom? Wisdom, which has been poured out from the womb of God in whatever he is created, is the art of being successful. So if you want to be successful in life, if you want to form the correct plan to gain the desired results, we have to search for it and look for it and find it in God's creative work. It's there in God's creative work. Because God is there. And and in the creative work of God, we find wisdom. Is that there we will find how God wants us to live our way of life, our way of life, so that we can experience human flourishing. In a sense, God is written in his creative work. In a sense, creation is stamped with the presence of God. In creation is God's law, which is the way that we should live, is written in creation. Justice is written in creation. Order and truth. All of that is embedded in the creative work of God. And so if we want to experience God's law, if you want to experience justice and order and truth, we have to engage creation. Because it's like God stamped himself in his creative work. The human being must realize that the universe which God has created, and God's creative work, is much bigger than we are. Because the earth, scientists tell us that the earth can fit into the sun 1.3 million times. So the earth on which we live can fit into the sun, which is one of the planets in our galaxy, 1.3 million times. When we think that the earth is big, it's not. It seems that we are lost. It looks like, and when we think about it, it's like we are lost in God's creative work. But still yet, God is personal with us, has a personal touch. God knows us by name. Jeremiah 1 says, God knows us even in our mother's womb, he created us. And scientists tell us that the universe keeps expanding. And also they tell us, beside our galaxy, which comprises the Earth and other planets, and billions of stars, outside of that, there are about 1 billion galaxies. That shows the vastness of God and the vastness of what God has created. It means when man thinks that he knows it all, there's a problem. Man has to be always open to the more, open to God who wants to reveal himself. And that's the problem. Because man thinks that he knows all. And he has seen all. But God is the more. We can never ever, we'll try, but we'll never ever come to comprehend God on this earthly journey. Suppose we will see him face to face when we transition from this earth toward the other side. So I come back to the missing the mark, because this is very important. And here we go a bit deeper. It is only when people are disoriented and truncated from the life of God do the reasoning and efforts become confused and frail. The reason why we fail so much in life, and the reason why that we find ourselves in the mess sometimes we are in, is because we have become disoriented and truncated, because we have disconnected ourselves from God. And where is God? God also is in creation. So when we begin to abuse creation, how we like, it means that we are doing ourselves a disservice. Because it means that where the medium through which God reveals himself in a sense that we are destroying it. And that's why Wisdom 9:14 says, we who act in that way, we are rendered worthless and likely to fail. And indeed, we are seeing that we are failing. So if divorced from God's revelation, which is imprinted in the creative work of God, we become impoverished and unproductive at best. That's what St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 1:17, chapter 2, verse 4, and 2 Corinthians 1:12. And St. Paul goes on and says, and foolish or even devilish or worse. Paul is right. When we ill-treat the creative work of God, when we abuse it, when we destroy it, we are destroying our own self. It means that we are being foolish. Because it is in there, imprinted is the wisdom of God. We need as human beings to grow and to be successful and to see our way in life. So, human wisdom, we have to understand, is shaped by divine wisdom. Human wisdom and divine wisdom are not contrary poles. But human wisdom is essentially oriented by the wisdom of God. So the more we are in communion with God's creation, where we find wisdom, the wisdom of God, is the more we will become wise. The more we get in tune with God's creative work, in communion, in tune, in relationship, is the more we grow in wisdom. The more the more we are disconnected, and the more we destroy God's creative work, is the more foolish we become. And that's the sad story about humanity. So worldly wisdom is based on tuition and experience without revelation, and thus has severe limitations. So that is what I was saying before. Wisdom is revealed to us because wisdom is something that we have to open our minds and open our hearts and open our being to receive. It's something that we receive. It's not something that we know it all. It comes from here. No, it comes from God, given to us a gift which is found in creative work. Baker. Wisdom is God, which is vast, all-knowing. And so I'm trying to wrap up now, but here I'm getting now trying to diagnose the problem, because we have a problem. The problem of the destructive nature of man towards creation is a spiritual problem. Because as we see, man is destroying creation. But what I realize, and I've come, well, I've been trying to reflect on our action towards creation. And I've come to the conclusion that it is a spiritual problem. And that's why I had a discussion with a fellow biblical scholar recently. And he said something. He said, man is not yet fully Christianized. Man, if it's humanity, still lives paganistic lifestyles. And paganism is forgetting that God exists. And it's important to note, I did not say believing, because there is some form in paganism, there is some form of belief in a deity or deities. But what I'm saying, Paganism is forgetting that God exists. You see, when we forget God, which is greater than us, which we have to open ourselves for him to reveal himself to us. And when we think we know it all, what happens? We become restless. We become disconnected from our Creator. And what it results in? Destruction. We destroy creation and we destroy ourselves. And that's what paganism is. The pagan is one whose eyes are not raised to the heavens. So his vision is flat. He's short-sighted. Thus he only sees the material world. And for him, it is something to be used and abused for himself. And think about it. That's why my friend, the biblical scholar, is saying the world needs to be Christianized. Because what we are seeing is human beings who are all concerned about greed. It's like they're restless. It's like animals. It's like they have no sense of order. They are, in a sense, they have lowered themselves to the level of animals. The way we behave, we do things, we destroy the earth just to get more money and profit and greed. I mean, that's how animals behave. That's why they refer to as these are paganistic lifestyle. That's the way the pagan live. So the way we live our life this today is not Christian. It's the way the pagan lived. And it seems to me, and how I can describe it is because we are disconnected and we are destroying the creative work of God, where we find the presence of God. It's like we are blind to the beauty of God in creation. It's like we are blind. And that's why the early Christians, when they describe paganism, they describe paganism as a way where people live a life of hedonism, representing those who are sensual, materialistic, self-indulgent, unconcerned with the future. For the pagan, there is nothing to look forward to after this life. So live it as you like. And that's what we see. People living life as they like. I destroy just to make profit. And I don't care who comes next. I don't care about the next generation. As long as I make more and more money. It means one's life, such life is reckless. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, here is what I'm thinking. Why is it we behave in that way? Why? That's the question, why? For me, I think it is because of brokenness. Humanity is broken. It's like a child born in a family and maybe sexually abused or physical abuse or verbally abused. The child is broken. And the child would have a sense of her beauty. The child don't care. The child is like, has no sort of purpose. So it's like a don't care attitude. And the child behaves in a way that doesn't bother him. And that comes out of brokenness. We are broken. It's like, it's like the human heart and the human mind is corrupted and distorted. So we forget who we are and whose we are. And that's why we descend in behaviors which do not reflect what we have been created. We reflect into behaviors or descend into behaviors which do not reflect that we have been created in the image and likeness of God. So my dear brothers and sisters, it stems from brokenness. And that's why so many times as a church, in our parish communities, we spend so much time building physical structures, maintaining physical buildings, when the work is the most difficult. It's easy to put a building. The most difficult work is to get to the human heart. So the human heart can change and so ascend to being fully human. The pagan is one who is not able to ascend to the more. That's where the problem is. I see it even in my ministry. It's like people are laid back. Their lives are flat. They don't care. It's like they have no vision. It's like they're going through life motionless. They don't even know where they're going. That's because they are broken. And when we are broken, we don't see the vision. We're not able to rise like the birds to where we should be. The challenge for us as church is how do we raise the heart and the to God, which is the definition of prayer by St. John Damascene. I want to end my presentation with a song. Because we need God to touch our hearts. We need God to touch our minds, to touch humanity, so that humanity can come to its senses and realize that we have been created for more. We have been created to be in union with all of God's created work. And it's when we come and it's when we are in union with God's creative work, we experience human flourishing. It's for our own good. We rise to be like God because God shares himself with us in creation. He pours out his very self in creation. Very fine God. And therefore, this song is a prayer. I pray that God will touch us so that we can be raised up. Okay, I'm trying to play the song, but maybe I think I had a copy. Just give me a minute. I had a copy, so maybe I can sing. So maybe I can sing a verse or two. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, thou my true word. I ever with thee, thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. High King of heaven, thou bright heaven's sun, grant me its joy after victory is won. Heart of my own heart, whatever before, still be my vision, O ruler of all. Good. Amen.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Father. That was such a powerful explanation of the theme. So we now reached to move on our agenda today. We are having a breakout room. It's going to be 10 minutes, and I would leave the breakout room. I will leave the breakout room question on the Zoom chat, and what I can do, I will share my screen while we prepare ourselves to go into the breakout room for 10 minutes. I would share my screen on the question. So it will be 10 minutes. What does it say, Father sharing, about me? So, for example, in what ways am I being complimented or challenged? What should be our next step? Right? And I would like for you to take the opportunity to discuss this among yourself in the groups as we enter into breakout room at this time. Thank you.
Returning to sessions.
So we are back, everyone. Welcome back. So I hope that was very helpful for you, that opportunity to share and interact on that question. So let's get some feedback. How was that experience for you? Right? What stood out for you while you shared? Anyone would like to share?
Good evening. Hi, Annalisa. Well, in our group, it was Father and myself. So having a lot of things in common because of the way of life we live. We were seeing that time for self is so important. And we saw how much persons do not respect and care for the environment. Because Father was speaking about a lot of animals that are being abused right around his circle. And then he gave an example of a gentleman who came, one of his family members who came, and he was sick. And then when he went back, his doctor said it's a miracle what he did. So it's because he came to the Caribbean and he was rejuvenated, and he's seeing that in himself also. And also I was sharing with the Father, I feel like I'm a concrete jungle. Meaning that even within myself, I feel like that care of self and environment because of the way of life. I don't have enough time to even walk and do things that can rejuvenate me. It's like when you go to work, you come back, you're tired, that whole aspect. And but as I told him, I'm feeling the freshness of the air because I'm in the country right now. So it's different than the town life. You're hearing the birds, you're seeing the sun rising, the greenery, and that is kind of giving me a sense of not wanting to go back. But so that is where Father and myself, we discussed. But we thank God for that time where we can really rest in nature, kind of.
Thank you very much, Sister.
Welcome.
I think in our group, I don't know if anybody from the group would like to share, but basically we spoke a lot about the presentation. Persons were very grateful to Father, the way he shared, and I think all of us mentioned that it moved us to deeper reflection as to our connection with all of creation. And the question was, what more can we do? Not just the animals, trees, but especially people, our brothers and sisters who are in need. We are connected to them. They are part of God's creation. What else can we do to show more of that connection and that compassion?
Thank you, Sister Delia. And I also saw on the Zoom chat, someone did ask what practical things that we can do moving forward from hearing Father's powerful presentation. And what does our faith teach us about care for creation? So these are the questions that really were raised after reflecting on Father's presentation. So I really want to, you share with the participants that we have had this webinar for you to better understand not only the season of creation, but what our faith calls us to do. And Father had shared so much on the communion between and the connection between the environment and God, our creator, and ourselves and others, and building that right relationships. And the Franciscan Institute, we have been having this Season of Creation Challenge. And in the Season of Creation Challenge, it's all about using the theme for each year and creating, whether you have some sort of creative skills in arts, music, and so on, and participating in the challenge using that theme. So coming out from those who are asking us what this theme is all about, I hope that, Father will helpful in answering your questions about the theme for this year. And also there are ways that you can participate in communion with others on raising awareness and promoting and sharing your gifts and creativity for the season of creation. So in partnership with many of the in Grenada, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago, many of the organizations, we are doing a Season of Creation Challenge. And as part of the challenge, we're doing the Season of Creation webinar. Father Hugh is today. And next week, we'll have Sister Delia and Sister Roxanne from Grenada, who are Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother, and they would be doing a webinar, an educational webinar on the theme for children ages 5 to 11, because the invitation is out for youths and parishioners and so on to participate in the Season of Creation Challenge. And we have also had a Down to Earth talk series where we are starting the conversation about topics where Father raised, about human consumption, about issues of the climate crisis, and our faith. So we are doing it in such a conversational level that you can join us too. And all of this is in preparation for a St. Francis Canticle Award ceremony that we'll have in October after the Season of Creation month to celebrate all those who have participated. And we are doing this in the Caribbean region, in the islands that we serve, because the Institute is part of a registered partner for the International Season of Creation. And we really want to highlight what are we doing here in our homes in Trinidad, Grenada, St. Lucia, wherever you are, on connecting with each other and sharing our giftedness into really making a difference to better care for our home. So I'm sharing this information with you so you can connect with us. You can connect with the family in caring for a common home. And there are many activities that are taking place, and you can, wherever you are, in whichever country, you can connect with the Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother or the Franciscan Institute or the Archdiocese, where they're sharing these information. So I would like to close with a vote of thanks, and I would pass you on to Sister Delia, who would share with us a thank you.
Good night, everyone. On behalf of the Sisters of a Sorrowful Mother, the staff of the Franciscan Institute, and all who are present here, I would like to extend a very special thank you to Father Hugh Logan for taking this time, and not just tonight, but the time you took to prepare and to share with us so powerfully. We really appreciate the fact that you have moved us to deeper reflection so that we can be more compassionate towards all of creation, especially our brothers and sisters. And I think one of the things I maybe could speak to all, that we will not forget the fact that you moved us deep down into our hearts, and you really mentioned the heart. So the heart will really connect, the heart connects us with God, connects us with our brothers and sisters and all of creation. So we're deeply grateful that you have shared so powerfully, and we could assure you that we will continue to ask ourselves the question, what more can we do? And then we will put it into action, not just the question, but we will respond to the question by taking some action. So we really want to thank you, and we pray that God will continue to bless you as you continue to share and to minister to God's people. We also want to say a thank you to the staff of the Franciscan Institute, Sister Velona, Annalisa, and all other staff members for putting this presentation, for coordinating and ensuring that we have this presentation. So we thank you, and as you continue to collaborate with us. For all our sisters throughout who have participated and all participants, we want to thank you for being there. And together, we ask that you continue to work with us, so let us continue to collaborate, because we are part of the Mother Earth. We are part of that Oikos of God. We are part of that home for all. So we really want to thank you, and we wish you a very pleasant night. Continue to join us as we observe the season of creation, so that together we can transform the earth. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you, Sister Delia, and I join and echo your sentiment of thank you to each and every one of you, to all our partners, sisters, and Father Hugh. Thank you so much. So feel free to, stay back if you have any questions to ask. This is the end of our program, and I'll stop the recording as of now. Thank you.